All governments, Australians, governments, have become used to governments solving problems with money, and that has to stop. The dependent mentality in this country today has got to be overtaken by an independent mentality. We've got to provide for ourselves and stop asking government to do everything for us. But nonetheless, as Simon Benson writes today, the Albanese government is in the grip of abrupt and debilitating political paralysis. Ministerial competence, he says, is now an issue. Political management is wanting, and policy inertia over Australia's falling living standards is now at the risk of being hijacked by an increasingly anxious Labor backbench. He writes, the caucus is spooked by how rapidly the government has fallen out of favour with the electorate, unquote. So how do Chalmers and co go, throwing money at all these problems? And in the next breath, Chalmers will tell us that spending is the cause of inflation and high interest rates, which it is. Tellingly, Simon Benson writes about a, quote, perceived lack of direction and leadership, with ministers now being exposed as out of their depth and the leadership team failing to assert a convincing narrative or project confidence that they are in control of political management, unquote. It's scathing stuff, and look, as I've told you, I'm telling you, it will not get better. For example, here we go again. A dozen asylum seekers landed on Australian shores last week. They paid $8,000 per person to come to Darwin, but they found themselves abandoned in an airbase in remote WA. But why would they pay $8,000? Well, the people smugglers are not stupid. In February, the Albanese government allowed about 19,000 temporary protection visas and safe haven enterprise visas who arrived in Australia before 2013 to get pathways to permanent residency. 19,000. Dutton argued the decision would be used by people smugglers as a way of luring in clients, particularly from bloated refugee camps in Bangladesh, from where the UN reports a drastic increase in people smuggling. Dutton was right. I think Australia needs a tough cop on the beat. Dutton might be the man, but for now, come to Australia. Albanese and the left are in charge. I told you last night in 2015, Albanese voted against a Labor Party National Conference policy motion to turn back the boats. He voted against it. Now his government have cut $600 million in the last budget from Australia's border protection regime. They've not delivered adequate maritime surveillance, and they're committed to abolishing temporary protection visas, which are central to Operation Sovereign Borders. Since Albanese has become Prime Minister, there have been 10 smuggling ventures. This is the latest. But in February, 19,000 people were given a pathway to permanent residency. Others are paying money to be in on the party. The worst offenders released from immigration detention by the High Court could be locked up again under new detention laws that the federal government wants to rush through Parliament before Christmas. I think Claire O'Neill is fair dinkum, and I think she's got ability, Claire O'Neill. You keep an eye on her when she says she wants to protect the Australian community. Now, the High Court did leave open the government's capacity for individuals convicted of serious crimes to be redetained if they presented, quote, an unacceptable risk of reoffending, unquote. But as I said last night, we've got 4 of these detainees refusing the electric ankle bracelet, and no one understands how that can happen. And there's one individual who police are now unable to contact. Here we go again. The Immigration Minister, Andrew Giles, wouldn't confirm whether that person has been located. We don't know his age, his appearance, his suspected location, his criminal history or his background. It's The Voice all over again. We're told nothing, no detail. But we know one thing. It's Labor all over again, who can't guarantee national security.